Hey guys, it's Nick with Braindead, and in this video we're going to be going through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a movie that Tobe Hooper actually wanted a PG rating for, cause when I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think fun for the whole family. Well, fun for at least one family. Not gonna lie, the first time that I saw this movie a few years ago, I kinda hated it. But upon rewatching it for this video, I found myself enjoying it quite a lot more than I remembered. I mean, some of the things that I didn't like about it before are still things that kinda bother me now, but there is a lot more to be appreciated in it than I gave it credit for on the first watch. Like, there is this one part that I think is just so incredibly stupid, and it's honestly kinda silly how much it upsets me, but it does, and I will talk about it when we get to it. And believe me, you will know when we get to it. Speaking of getting to it, let's. The movie opens with a text crawl describing how the rebels were able to steal the plans for something called the Death Star, a super weapon. No, that's Star Wars, sorry. This text scroll describes how we're about to see some real fucked up shit. It makes good on that promise immediately with someone taking pictures of what are clearly severely decayed bodies. Not to worry if you're easily grossed out though, they only show up in quick flashes and from very close up so you can't really see what's going on. Excuse me for just a second. I'll be right back. All right, just one second. Anyway, a corpse is on screen for quite a while as a newscast plays detailing a series of grave robbings taking place in a cemetery in Newt, Texas. This news has people from all over the area going to the cemetery to check if their dead loved ones have also been turned into grotesque effigies. A couple of these people are brother and sister Franklin and Sally Hardesty, whose grandfather's buried in the cemetery. They arrive along with friends Jerry, Kirk, and Pam, and after confirming with the sheriff that their grandfather's resting place remains intact, the group decide to go up to an abandoned old house that Franklin and Sally's father owns. On the way there, they start to smell a really smelly smell. The kind of smelly smell that smells smelly. Slaughterhouse! Specifically, a slaughterhouse their grandfather used to work at, which prompts Franklin to talk about how they used to inhumanely kill the cows there.
They bash him in the head with a big sledgehammer. It usually wouldn't kill him on the first lick. They'd have to come up and bash him 2 or 3 times.
After this macabre history lesson, they spot a hitchhiker and decide to pick him up, because murderers didn't exist in the 70s. They start asking the hitchhiker a few questions. Where are you from? What do you do? Why are you cutting yourself with that knife? Standard icebreakers. He then takes Franklin's picture and asks to be paid for it, but since none of them want a Polaroid of Franklin, they refuse to pay and give him back the picture. The hitchhiker sets the picture on fire, cuts Franklin's arm, and they finally pull over and kick him out of the van.
That's the last goddamn hitchhiker I ever...
Sally bandages Franklin up, and they stop at a gas station that also sells barbecue, although I'm more of a gas station hot dog kind of guy myself. The proprietor of the station lets them know that they're out of gas and won't get a refill until possibly the next day, so they just buy some barbecue and head out to the Hardesty residence. Upon arrival, they all flood into the dilapidated house to take a look around. All except for Franklin, that is, who is left by himself downstairs while everyone else upstairs has way too much fun exploring this shithole. Honestly though, what could possibly be that funny right now? Hey Sally.
Yeah.
Why'd the chicken cross the road? to
why?
get to the other side. After the stand-up routine, Kirk and Pam ask Franklin about a swimming hole that's supposedly nearby, and Franklin points them in its direction. They get to the hole, but that's all they find since the thing's been completely dried out by the Texas heat. They spot a house and hear a generator, meaning whoever lives there must have gas, and Kirk plans to see if they'd be able to spare some. The place is empty as far as they can tell, but Kirk walks inside and continues calling out to somebody just in case. The initial blow doesn't kill Kirk, calling back to when Franklin was talking about the slaughterhouse, so Leatherface hits him again and slams his door closed. Outside, Pam gets tired of waiting for Kirk because she just wants to leave and she goes in after him. Then, after wandering around this stranger's home for a bit, she stumbles into a room filled with feathers and bones. Most notably, a whole-ass couch decorated with the remains of another person's family member. She tries to escape, but Leatherface pops out from behind his door, grabs her, and sticks her on a meat hook. A little later, back at the Hardesty estate, the rest of the group are wondering where the hell their friends are, and Jerry goes off by himself to find them. When he gets to the house, he's met with the same silence as the previous group.
Excuse me, I'm looking for some friends.
Well, you're not gonna find any that way, Jerry. I mean, for all they know, you could be some psycho trying to steal their chicken. Or their bone couch. He hears what sounds like a woman giggling, or at least that's how the subtitles describe it, so he wanders to the back and finds Pam stuffed in a freezer. Leatherface once again pops out with his sledgehammer and kills Jerry with a bash to the head. Cutting back to the Hardesties, nighttime has fallen and all of their friends who've gone off by themselves have yet to return and are probably dead. Well, time to go off by yourself to try to find him. After a bit of an argument, Sally brings Franklin along, a decision she instantly regrets as Leatherface again pops out, killing Franklin with his chainsaw. And like, seriously though, how could this guy be so sneaky? This guy? Right here? How? Anyway, for the next 5.5 minutes, yes, that's accurate, Leatherface chases Sally around with his chainsaw while she just screams and jumps through a window, which is actually pretty cool, but then continues screaming. During the chase, Leatherface carves up his own front door, Sally finds a couple of corpses in the attic, and after her exit from the premises, he chases her all the way back to the barbecue gas station where the proprietor takes her in. The man brings his truck around with the promise that they'll head to a place where they can call for help.
There's no phone here.
Wait, hold on. There's no phone. You don't have a phone. How do you order more gas and supplies for your store? My dearest gas supplier, I wish I could exchange pleasantries, but there is no time to waste. My pumps are mere days away from running dry, and as you well know, I could never get by on my barbecue sales alone. We are in dire need of your gas, and would be eternally grateful for this matter to be resolved post-haste. Our lives are now in your hands. Humbly yours, the proprietor. The proprietor, who I'm going to start calling Drayton at this point since we find out that that's his name in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, reveals himself to be working with Leatherface as he pulls out some rope to tie her up and starts beating her with a broom, all while she just screams and much better. He drives her back to the house while jabbing her with a broom handle, and they run into the hitchhiker from earlier, who Drayton is also working with. And I should point out that when I say working with, it's more or less just for the lack of a better term, because in actuality, they're all related, something else that we find out in Texas Chainsaw 2. However, in this movie, they only state clearly that the hitchhiker and Leatherface are brothers, while Drayton here is never actually given an official title on how he relates to the rest, since he's always using phrases like your brother,
Look what your brother did to that door!
your grandfather,
Get upstairs and get your grandpa!
There's no definitive line suggesting Drayton's relationship to this family, so it's very much up to interpretation. Getting back to this movie, the hitchhiker ties Sally to a chair and goes up to get his grandfather. Drayton scolds Leatherface for ruining their door, and they all sit down for supper. Of course, Grandpa gets to dig in first with a light serving of Sally blood, and he couldn't be happier. Sally passes out from, blood loss, and comes to shortly after dinner has been served. Haha, son of a bitch, just knock her back out, please. She screams ad nauseum, and no, the stylish, uncomfortable close-up shots of Sally's eyes does not make up for how irritating the screaming gets. And again, as much as I now appreciate the terror that this movie brings to the table, pun intended, to me it feels way too drawn out, and the constant screaming really quickly drives away the feeling of terror you get and replaces it with annoyance. Like, I get it, you're sitting at a table with a bunch of cannibals who are planning to eat you. You know, we all got problems. Eventually, they do move on, with the hitchhiker suggesting that Grandpa should be the one that kills Sally, because, as they put it,
My old grandpa's the best killer there ever was.
but alas, it seems that Grandpa's best days are behind him, as he can barely keep the hammer in his hand. As the cannibal crew fumble around trying to help Grandpa get his kill, Sally is able to get away from them and jumps out of another window to escape. She's closely pursued by the hitchhiker and Leatherface, the former of which is able to get a couple slashes in before they both get to the road, where the hitchhiker is run down by a semi-truck. I told him not to go near that, Rod. The driver of the truck gets out and helps Sally get away from the chainsaw-wielding madman, and drives them both to safety. What the hell are you doing? Just go. He clearly can't get into the truck with his chainsaw. You were just driving, so you have the keys, probably still in the ignition. Just drive away. Why wouldn't you just drive away? There is no excuse for this stupid decision, and I will never get over it. My fucking life is ruined. As Leatherface chases them down in the rod, the truck driver throws a wrench at his head, knocking him over and making him cut his own leg with the chainsaw. Another, smaller truck happens to be driving by during all of this, and Sally jumps in the back, laughing hysterically as she's led to safety. The movie ends with Leatherface throwing a tantrum with his chainsaw as the movie suddenly cuts to black. And that's it for this recap. I hope you enjoyed it, even with my potentially controversial opinions thrown in there. I'd appreciate it if you would be so kind as to subscribe. It really makes my day and only takes you a couple seconds, so thank you in advance. Join me for a live stream one of these times. I do them every Thursday, and I just got a VR headset, so I'll be playing some VR games very soon, which I'm very excited about. Let me know if there's any horror movies you'd actually like to see me recap. I would love to take your suggestions, and you can follow me literally everywhere at Braindead Horror if you so choose. But thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you soon. And for those of you wondering, no, I did not buy this just for this video. I've had this, so I've used it for something else.